Okay, and welcome again to GIGSANDGUITARS.com. And today I'm going to be talking about nut slotting for your strings. So let's get right to it. I'm going to take you in a little bit closer and then show you what's going on with this guitar. From the nut coming off the first fret, it's too tall. That's quite a distance. We don't really want that much. So what we're going to do is use our handy dandy nut slot files, and we're going to take those down, and I'm going to show you how it's done. So let's zoom her back out. I like to use my own tools. I like to make some of my own tools, or most of my own tools if I can, but this is one where you really need to get some real nut slot files in order to get the job done right. Okay. Yeah, they're too tall. So what'll happen is the guitar will play a little stiff down here. Like, it can be made to play great everywhere else, but it'll just feel a little stiff. And with them this tall, your intonation will be more difficult to dial in, and if they're real tall, you won't be able to get it to intonate at all sometimes. So here's what we're going to do. First thing is to check the angle here of the string going across the nut. You want the string to touch the nut all the way across. In other words, you don't want a gap in the front where the string comes off the nut, nor do you want a gap in the back where the string heads towards the tuning peg. You want contact the entire width of the nut. So we want to look at the angle that we've got here, and that's what's happening already. There is contact all the way across the nut. So we want to keep that same angle. You want it angled slightly back in order for that to all happen. And you definitely don't want a forward angle, because then you'll have space underneath the string coming off the nut. Nor do you want to go at too steep an angle, because then you'll have space underneath the string at the back side of the nut. So again, you want contact all the way across the nut. So we're going to loosen that one string, flip it to the side. Okay, so we know the angle that we're looking for, about right there. And you can kind of rock it back and forth to make sure, and that's about where we want to be. So we're going to take it down a little bit. Be very careful. This happens to be a bone nut, so it's going to take a little bit more filing and a little bit more pressure. If this were a plastic nut or some of the synthetics, be even more careful, because those will file down a lot quicker. So very small amounts, because if you go too low, you're in trouble. Not quite enough. Loosen up. Pop the string back in with your slot file. Take your time to get your angle right where you were before, and make sure that this file is straight, not side to side. It'll waller that out a little bit, and you don't want that to happen. So we got our angle, the file's in there straight, and we were pretty close, so we don't want to go too much this time. I like to use a toothbrush. It's a really cool cleaning tool for a guitar. Put the string back in the slot. Okay, there we go. Almost. Let's go one more time. File is straight. Got the same angle. Lift it up to make sure your gravity's not throwing you off, and now check it. That's what we're looking for. Okay, let me take you in closer These were about the same height before. Now we've got this as the E string. It's not too close, but it's not too high. And look at the difference. That's where the E string was. That's how high it was before. So again, we're not taking it down a lot. You don't want to get any fret buzz. If you go too low, you're in big trouble. But that's what we want right there. And let's do another string. Loosen it. Pull the string out. Now we've got our 36 file. These strings are 10s, by the way. At same angle, we're straight. And as the files get smaller, the smaller gauge, they cut a little faster, regardless of the material of the nut. So be wary of that. Take this a little bit. Toothbrush. Needs a little more. Files in the slot straight. We've got the correct angle, the angle that we're looking for. And again, don't try to take down too much at once. You're going to have to do this several times. So it's always good to use the old strings to get the neck adjusted and to get your nut slots down. That constant tuning up, tuning down, tuning up, tuning down, you'll end up doing that 8 or 10 times sometimes between adjusting the neck and doing the nut slots. And that'll just wear out a new set of strings. You'll take all the life out of them. One more time. And that's a good place to be. If you're knocking it out the first filing one time, you're probably taking too much off and you're going to get caught someday. Okay. File is standing straight up. It's sitting straight in the slot. Our angle here is good. Okay, let's try that. You always want to brush it out just in case there's any filings laying in there that are going to give you a false indicator. Back up to tune. That's where we want to be. Okay, let's go back in for a closer look now. Okay, the two that we've done, the E and the A, are the same. Now go to the G and see how tall that is compared. This is what we're looking for. Right there. So, repeat the process all the way across. Be careful. Take your time. It's a bit of a process to get that dead on. But it's got to be done that way in order to nail the setup. And I also want to mention that the same thing applies to the saddle. And the same files can be used here that we used on the nut. If the string slot, if it's slanted forward instead of back, or if it's a V, it's real tight and the string isn't quite touching the bottom of the saddle, you can use the same files. So we're going to take the file and we're going to widen that out just a hair. Again, as I said, if it's a V shape and it's not sitting down, or if it's sloped forward, get the right slope and the right width on these, and it'll affect your tone drastically. It'll help a ton if the strings are not sitting in the slot properly. The other thing that'll happen too sometimes is that like on a Gibson, where your radius is fixed, you might see one occasionally where a string is sitting higher than the others, and that's a fairly common thing to see, especially a guitar that's right out of the factory. So if you just get a guitar, check it real close. Check that radius, make sure it's nice and even. If there's a string sitting up, take it down with your file. If it's not sitting in the string slot nice and even and getting good contact, take it down just a tad, put the right angle on it, open it up a bit. Valuable tool. Okay, thanks for watching. Nut slot filing. It's not rocket science, but there is a procedure that you got to follow or you'll get yourself in trouble. GIGSANDGUITARS.COM. Thanks for watching.
Patients are wearing thin, but I can cure me with good medicine. Head to perspective is where things are headed now, and waves of clearness crashing over my bow.